The coronavirus pandemic demanded a coordinated global approach. We've been saying this, but the discord on the global political stage is greater than ever today. The United Nations is failing to find consensus. So what went wrong at global institutions? Toxic geopolitics with countries indulging in a blame game. That's the assessment of the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Helen. Earlier today, she spoke exclusively to us. Here's an excerpt of that conversation. Helen Clark, you've been part of the United Nations Development Programme, you've headed it, and you understand how the system works better than most others. Why did the UN fail in its response to this pandemic?
So the UN is a multi-layered beast, of course, and I do want to give a shout out to the WHO, which 4 months ago had never heard of this virus. It hears at the end of December. It responds with the information it has. It gives guidance, but not enough countries follow its guidance. Then you come to the UN agencies out in the field. The World Food Programme couldn't be trying harder. Its head appeared in front of the Security Council this week and said, look, if something dramatic's not done, we are facing a doubling of the numbers of people who are on the brink of starvation in our world. That's horrific. So I know from my experience that the agencies out in the country level, the World Food Programs, the UNICEFs, the UNDPs, the International Organization of Migration, the Refugee Agency, they'll all be working incredibly hard at the country level. So where then is the real issue? The real issue is here. The Security Council has been unable to agree on a resolution. In 2014, the Security Council resolved that Ebola was a threat to global peace and security. We have had no such resolution in the middle of this terrible crisis, which with global ramifications goes far beyond the Ebola one. So that's a vacuum of leadership at the top political level of the United Nations. Secondly, at the level of the G20, which was so critical in mobilizing the global response to the financial crisis of 2007 to 9, the leaders of the G20 have not stepped up to ensure that the resources are available to the IMF, to the World Banks, to the regional development banks to support countries through this crisis.
That's a very, very important point that you're making. You spoke about the lack of a UNSC resolution and the lack of leadership. Are some leaders in some countries, would you say, more to blame than others for hampering this?
So we have rather toxic geopolitics at the moment. And if you, as a major country with a veto power on the Security Council, enter the room with the attitude that you are determined to have in the resolution a name for the virus, which is not the scientific name, but the name of the place where it came from, then you know that you really don't want a resolution. You're just into a blame game. And this is so distressing. People are dying out there, now in their hundreds of thousands. It's just not appropriate for this sort of behaviour to carry on in the middle of a global crisis like this.
Right, you've not named names, but you have in the past called US President Donald Trump's decision to hold back funds from the WTO, quote-unquote, foolish. I want to ask you why that is, and the follow-up question is that if you believe that the American leadership has failed, what do you make of the Chinese leadership and its approach to this?
So to withdraw funding from the World Health Organization in the middle of a pandemic is clearly foolish. About 15% of the WHO's budget comes from the United States of America, and actually the biggest share of that funding goes to very important programs like the moving to the final eradication of polio, which we all support. Look, the WHO has been scrambling like everyone else to try to get ahead of what this virus means and give the right guidance. And, if we'll do a review after this, and not everything will be 100% right, but where would the world be without the WHO? We have to support it. We have to strengthen its mandate. Now, for it to be fully effective, of course, it needs the full cooperation of all member states. And that means that at the very first hint of a new virus like this, the country that it appears in must go to the WHO. In the case of SARS, as I recall, back in around 2003, it took some 3 months for China to notify. This time, it's not clear how long the government of Beijing knew about it, but I would think almost certainly at least sometime before the 31st of December notification. So we need transparency and openness from every member state if we're to get on top of a virus like this very, very quickly. And we need all member states cooperating with, supporting the WHO to do its critical job.